the perfection of wisdom in 150 lines. Homage to the perfection of wisdom. Introduction. Thus have I heard at one time. The Lord Mahavairocana had obtained the various kinds of omniscience from all the Tathagatas. With the jeweled crown of a Tathagata, he had achieved the 10 sovereignties over the triple world. He had won the cognition of all knowledge, which is the genetrics of all the Tathagatas. A great master of yoga, he had taken to heart the seal of all the Tathagatas, which is the sameness of all dharmas. He had performed manifold deeds, and had through them fulfilled the hopes of all beings in the world without exception. Greatly compassionate, he dwelt perpetually in the sameness of the triple world, a Tathagata whose actions of body, speech, and mind were all adamantine. Now he had taken up his abode among the Paranirmita Vasavartan gods, who still belong to the plane of sense desire. It is bedecked with all kinds of fine and precious jewels, and signs of various colors, and bells on fine threads flutter in the breeze, and it abounds in garlands of flowers, diadems, necklaces, and pendants, all as beautiful as the moon. When the Tathagatas visit it, they all laud it as full of all blessings. And he dwelt together with 8,000 kotis of great bodhisattvas, headed by Vajrapani, Avalokiteshvara, Aksagarbha, Vajramusti, Manjushri, Sachitopada Dharma, Chakra Pravartin, Gagananja, and Sarvamara Pramardin. Surrounded and accompanied by them, he demonstrated the Dharma, lovely in the beginning, lovely in the middle, lovely in the end. Salutary, well expressed, uncontaminated, perfect, and quite pure. The word Bodhisattva. The word Bodhisattva is a word for the purity of rapture. It is a word for the purity of signs, and therefore of greed, hate, delusion, conceit, and envy. It is a word for the purity of views, of delight, of craving, of arrogance, of adornment, of mental satisfaction, of light, and of physical happiness. It is a word for the purity of visual forms, sounds, smells, tastes, and touchables. And why? Because all dharmas are pure in their own being. It is because of the fact that all dharmas are empty in their own being that there is this purity of the perfection of wisdom. If someone, Vajrapani, has once only heard this method of perfection of wisdom, which is the consummation of the purity of the own being of all dharmas, then, until the time that he reaches the terrace of enlightenment, all his coverings will be removed. The covering of the defilements, the covering of the dharmas, and the covering of his past deeds, however thickly they may have piled up. He will never again be reborn in the places of woe, that is, in the hells, and so on. Even when he had done evil, he will immediately become free from suffering and pure. Whosoever bears it in mind, and for even one single day recites and studies it and attends to it methodically, he will in this very life already, after he has attained the adamantine concentration of the sameness of all dharmas, become the sovereign of all dharmas. And in all dharmas he will experience happiness, contentment, and supreme bliss. After 16 rebirths as a great bodhisattva, he will become a Tathagata, a holder of the thunderbolt. Thereupon, the Lord Vajrapani, who has won reunion with the great vehicle of all the Tathagatas, who combines all the mandalas, who is the best of all the beings who hold the thunderbolt, who is the conqueror of all the triple worlds without exception, the discipliner of all the inhabited worlds without exception, who brings all things to success, great in sacraments, the great essence of the adamantine secret, surrounded by a manifold retinue, demonstrated the meaning of this method of perfect wisdom. He smiled, made the thunderbolt yawn, brandished in his left hand the great original thunderbolt, and held it raised to his own heart. Thereafter he uttered this quintessence of the inner reality, which is called the adamantine fruitful sacrament of the great bliss. That is, Hum. the great enlightenment. Thereupon, the Lord Vairocana, the Tathagata, demonstrated the method of the perfection of wisdom, which is called the consummation of awakening to the calm true nature of all the Tathagatas. Where one has awoken to the sameness of the thunderbolt, there is the great enlightenment, because the thunderbolt is exceedingly compact. Where one has awoken to the sameness of the meaning, there is the great enlightenment, because there is only one single meaning. Where one has awoken to the sameness of Dharma, there is the great enlightenment, because it is pure in its own being. Where one has awoken to the sameness of everything, there is the great enlightenment, because everything remains undiscriminated. If, Vajrapani, someone will hear these 4 consummate dharmas, bear them in mind, recite and develop them, he or she will, although he or she may practice all kinds of evil until the time that he or she is established on the terrace of enlightenment, escape all the places of woe. Though his or her sins may be vast, he or she will soon awaken to the supreme enlightenment. Thereupon, when this had been said, the Lord here explained in further detail the acquisition of the fist of cognition, and with a smiling face he taught this quintessence of the sameness of all dharmas. A.